You don't know what's coming. I love it.
All right. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
And we are...
Second Parsha. We're not going to do page numbers. We're going to do chapter and verse. Mm-hmm. So that way it is hot stuff. Chapter and verse 421. They must not come in to see the holy vessels being encapsulated, so they will not die. That was 420.
Okay.
421. There we go. Okay. Here we are. 421. We start with the excitement. Okay. Parashat Nasoh picks up where we left off last time. Mm-hmm. And it talks about the Levite tribes. We're not going to get into details of that because that was great. Mm-hmm. We count the Levim as well. But now we get into some interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. This Torah portion. So first of all, just to do the nuts and bolts context, this Torah portion is not written in order.
Okay, this portion itself.
And it spills out in other places where it's not written in order, and there's a big conversation what was said when. We don't have to get into details of what, when specific what was said when. It's much more valuable to do that kind of with a book and be able to flip back and forth and see what you're doing. Mm-hmm. The point is that there are texts or pieces of the Torah that were dictated to Moshe or taught to the people at specific times. Mm-hmm. The end of the Torah portion, for example, is when the Jews dedicated the temple, which happens in year 1 on the way out of Israel, out of Egypt.
So we're bouncing backwards.
So we're not going fully back because remember Leviticus ends off with the Jews building the tabernacle. It's kind of what they're getting laws.
Leviticus, aka Vayikra.
Vayikra is
book 3.
Book 3 they build the tabernacle. Mm-hmm. The end of book 2 they build it. They physically build it, and Moshe says, "Thank you, God." Then they have to inaugurate it over the course of the entire Leviticus, entire course of Vayikra. Mm-hmm. They're in the middle of inaugurating it. There's the inaugurating ceremony, a little bit of it, and then the last part of the inauguration ceremony happens in this Torah portion. But the end of
portion 2, book 4,
which is in book 4, portion 2. Mm-hmm. So season 4, episode 2, ends up going back to pick up middle of season 3, but we have episode 1 and half of episode 2 are actually in year 2.
Okay.
Just to point out that if things sound a little bit out of order, you're right, it is out of order, and it's fine, and it should be.
Okay.
Okay, there's reasons why. I don't know if we're going to get into it, because not everything in one spot. Okay. So what is the first thing we do? We talk about the Levites, because we have to finish what we did last Torah portion. And then we have a little more sacrifices, and then we have one's about halfway through the Torah portion. We land on a very interesting set of laws.
Okay.
The laws that surround the sotah.
Isha sotah. A perverted lady.
No. Well, you can use the word perverted, or you can use the word distracted.
Okay.
Suspected adulteress.
Okay.
If you use the word perverted, then you're using the word in its classical English term, which is she was perverted as in a perversion of, just moved off of.
Yeah. Which is how, like when you say in Hebrew, soteh min haderech,
yes,
meaning you have been removed from the path, or you've perverted from the path.
Right.
Which is also, there was a rabbi in Israel who got in trouble. The rabbi in the Mechina of Eli.
Okay.
Which is it's a very well-known and very much respected religious pre-military establishment in the Dati Leumi crowd. And the rabbi there is very, very much respected. And he was caught on tape talking about, it was like a big thing where it was like women serving in the army and homosexuality in Israel. And he used the word soteh. And the world lost its mind because that when you put that in a secular context, it's like you're calling me a pervert. It's like you miss. No, he's actually using the word as it's meant to be used. He's saying this is
in the biblical context,
almost in the biblical context. But what he's saying is that there is a norm and this is not that.
Interesting.
And this is just a little bit removed from the norm.
Right.
And what people are like is you just called me a pervert. And it's like, it's a little more nuanced than that. And you even the way he meant it, you can take it or leave it. Like I'm sure there are people who even if they understood it the way he meant it, might not be as offended but would still disagree, which is, they're right and everything. But It's very interesting that you said, because I said perverted, and that's where my mind went. I was like,
Right.
oh, perverted from.
Right. And I heard the English terminology. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not, she wasn't necessarily. That's
Yeah.
kind of the big question. So what is a isha sota?
So isha sota is a woman who is suspected of adultery.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't know what she did. And one of the interesting things that I find is that, and I realized this past Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with the visitor that we were talking about. He was talking about using AI to create podcasts like this one, but create podcasts to go through pieces of the Talmud and basically put voices to different people in the Talmud to make it easier to understand arguments. Yeah, and he's like, it'll make it so much easier. And basically, I argued with him to there are pieces of the Talmud, or a big part of the Talmud that what's required is the being able to hold things in your memory bank.
Oh.
And being able to remember if X is A, then that means that later on Y is B.
Yeah.
But if X is C or A, then Y may end up
B or
being D or A or E or F or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Right? An argument, and how does it apply? And if this is their argument here, what's their argument over there? Or if this is the principle, then how does it apply over there? And it becomes the requirement ends up being having to hold certain pieces of information in your memory bank. That's part one. And part two is holding the information in your memory bank in a flux state. In other words, it's not that it is this and just keep all this stuff in your memory. It's you're holding it in binary concepts. It's either this or that. Hold that in your memory and carry it forward. And it's still maybe until eventually we say, well, if it's this, then it means this, and therefore this. And if it's that, then it means that, and therefore that. And that's the difficulty. And in my opinion, doing that as a podcast, the podcast aspect of it doesn't help, because you're forcing someone to think in a much more. There's much more information they have to carry in their head.
Yeah. And
the format doesn't having it, even if you made it visual, it wouldn't help so much. You need to practice this idea of holding ideas, of holding longer ideas, so to speak.
Well, it's also like so encoded. Like, I feel like it's not just enough to hear someone recite it or even translate it to like everyday words.
You have to think it yourself. Yeah.
You have to be able, like, there's the movie Oppenheimer, about Oppenheimer with the atomic bomb, and there's a great
Jewish
scene
guy.
at the beginning. Jewish guy, great Jew. But there's a great scene at the beginning where it shows him in a university in Germany, because he was clearly one of the greatest minds of his time, and therefore he was always being sent to these different universities to collaborate with these great scientists. And someone walks up to him, one of the great scientists, I believe, in Germany pre-World War II, and they're talking science for a moment, and he says to him, "It's like music. It's not about being able to read sheet music. It's about hearing the music." And that was like, first of all, as a musician, that hit home really well. But I feel like when I study with you, I see you hearing the music when we're reading words. And that's what also when I think about Rashi,
Right.
reading, Bereshit for the 12,000th time,
Right.
him being able to hear the,
Where the
hear
harmony is at, right?
Yeah, to
right.
hear, to understand by the way something is phrased, because he knows the writer so well, what it actually means, or why use this word and not that word, or why dot it this way.
Right. I think expertise does that.
Mm-hmm.
It begins to. There's a thing called. I'm going to use. I think it's called batching. That's what it's called. It's called batching, where essentially they've done studies for this. It's a very famous thing, where they have people try to memorize a series of letters, and you can go about 7, 8, 9 letters in, and then basically, if you're really really good, you go 9, 10 letters in. You can memorize in a row. But if then they show you it's like a bunch of letters and you just can't figure it out. Then they change the formatting of the columns, and suddenly it's like JFK, CIA, HEB,
And you remember all.
and you can remember. No, you can also remember about 7 or 9 in a row. But now it's 3-letter words. So how many letters have you memorized?
21.
Something like that, right?
21 to
And you can do it with
29,
4-letter words,
Okay.
right? You can do it with 5-letter words.
Brilliant.
And then how many letters are you memorizing? You're memorizing actually, if it's 7 times 5, you're 35 letters. theoretically you can only remember 7 because you only are remembering 7 ideas
I see.
in your active memory. It's very, very interesting. There's a lot of stuff
It's
about
called
this.
batching.
It's called batching. You begin to batch the ideas in like a piece.
That's very interesting.
It's interesting. How do we get into this? Oh,
I don't know.
because while I was talking Shabbos with this guy, I realized, because we were talking about having things in flux, the language of the Chumash here, and you have to see it in the text. I'm not going to go into it like in detail, but a lot of the language in this sotah, we're trying to say that we don't know if she did or if she didn't do the act.
So sotah is not actually she did it.
She's not an adulteress.
We don't yet know if she did it.
And the way that we find out is through this very magical and strange ritual.
I feel like this will be a controversial one.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It'll be a little. What they did was they took the woman to the temple, and the Mishkan or the temple in Jerusalem, and they would bring her in. They had special water that was prepared with bitter water, and they would write a
Hashem's
curse.
name. Okay.
This text.
It's written out in the.
It's yeah. Well, the question is how much of this text do you write? But if it actually says you'll write this oath, and they will. The priest should write these curses on a scroll, erase it into the water. They put bitter like flavoring into the water. She drinks it. They offer a sacrifice, or the Gemara gets into an argument. She may offer a sacrifice and then she drinks it. No one really. It's a machlok. It's an argument.
Okay. And
then, if she committed adultery, she dies.
Immediately.
Her body begins to waste away. It depends on how. There are things that. Again, can it be mitigated by the fact that she studied Torah herself? Can it be mitigated by the fact that she did good deeds in her life? Because she lived a couple of years before she dies. All these things are possible. What's interesting that the Gemara is very, very, very explicit that whatever happens to her happens to the adulterer as well.
So whoever
he also dies wherever he is.
Her collaborator,
the person she messed with, it happens to him as well, and also makes it very clear that if her husband was guilty of adultery himself,
he also
nothing happens. God will not step in to save you, to purify your marriage if you also screwed up. If the husband is cheating,
then nothing happens to her, even if she cheated.
Which is why eventually they abolished the law.
Not in this book, Gemara.
In Gemara, 1,000 years later, time of the Mishnah, they abolished the tradition. They abolished the mitzvah because they were like, it's not like people don't know what's going on in the community. People know exactly what's happening, right? And they saw what was happening, and then these people are showing up with their wives. Test her. I think she's cheating on me, and they're like, we know you. It's not going to work, and maybe he is using it to save face. Proof to the neighbors that she isn't doing anything. See, she'll drink, she'll be fine. Yeah. In the meantime, you're doing a whole ritual. And neither of them are fine, and that's why it's not working. Yeah. That's why it's not functioning. So it's a very interesting concept.
Wow.
Yeah.
It also I think it's for all the feminists out there. There's a nice portion of equality here.
And the fact that both have to be clean.
Both of them have to be clean. Both the person who she has adultered with is going to die with her. Yeah. Her husband has to be clean for her not being clean to make a difference.
Correct.
It's it's holding everyone pretty much to the same standard as opposed to what some people would think.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's very, very interesting. What I find fascinating about this also is to the thing about we don't know, because if she was wrongly suspected and then she goes home, then she actually has she has stronger, more healthy children, she gets more beautiful, she all these benefits.
Is she allowed to walk out on her husband if he accuses her and she's not?
So it's interesting, it doesn't give that. She can divorce him if she wants,
that's allowed in general.
Yeah it's not like a thing that the Torah even talks about.
Okay, and this is completely off topic, but a woman who wants a get meaning wants a divorce. Husband's not willing to give it to her. One of the few moments where the Beit Din beats the crap out of him. It's
very complicated, because it cannot be a get in which he was forced. It has to be from his own free will.
Yeah, but his free will comes from him.
Sometimes his free will comes from a little bit of exhorted. It's complicated though, because there's ways that you have to be able to have him say, I am giving this get of my entirely own free will.
Yeah.
So he has to state that, and he has to
I feel like
command the person to write the get in that way.
My mind is going to two things. One is like the girlfriend who wants her boyfriend to want to get her flowers.
Correct. Correct.
You know, it's like she's like, why don't you get me flowers? Comes home the next day with flowers. It's like, no, I want you. You know,
I want you to want it.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the first thing. The second thing is when I was in Mechina, which is a pre-army program. It was a religious program. It was for people who were like I was at the time, which was not really on track, pretty much throwing my life away. And the rabbi, who's a dear friend, and I hold to the highest standard, like highest regard. He would wake us up with a sword. He would wake us up with a sword in the morning because we wouldn't be willing to get out of bed, and he'd wake us up for davening with a sword, and he'd stab us with a sword, and like not actually break skin, but it was definitely uncomfortable. And when we'd like ask him like, why do you do that? It's so annoying. He said he would bring up the get. He says, sometimes pain is the way to get your free will. And I agree with it.
So what's interesting is that what is that built on?
It's built on the get, like on that.
But what is that the concept built on? I mean, it was like this. You're saying sometimes pain has to bring out your free will.
So no,
what could you argue back?
Is that's forcing me.
It's not free will.
But I that's where I disagree, because you're still choosing between bad and good, or comfortable and discomfort.
Bad. Well, even good or bad. Therefore, what? But how do you know you really want to get out of bed?
Because I'd rather get out of bed than get stabbed by a...
No. Because then he's forcing you.
But I could stay in bed and still get stabbed.
What's deeper than that?
I don't know.
Your neshama wants to get out of bed.
Ah, okay.
So really, you do want to get out of bed.
As he does want a divorce.
Rambam uses this clarify the law of pushing someone to get divorced, being able to force them. And he says it very explicitly. And halacha has to like deal with...
Well, because someone's neshama doesn't want to stay with a woman that doesn't want to be with him.
No, other way around. A person has to give a divorce, or to put it, not the other way around. Put it differently. A guy has to give a divorce because the Torah is telling him your wife is you're separate from your wife. And Yiddishkeit is telling you it is now time for you to give a divorce. How do you know Yiddishkeit saying that? Because the Beit Din is telling you,
beating you.
They're telling you.
Yeah.
They said why are they beating this guy? They're beating him because they say, according to Jewish law, according to Yiddishkeit, you need to give a divorce.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't want to. And so he says, yeah. Rambam says, beautiful. It's your Yitzhahara talking. It's your animal soul. It's your distraction.
Yeah.
And really inside of you, the Rebbe would use this a ton when talking about inspiring people to do mitzvahs. He says, really, Yitzhahara Ansai. It's his Yitzhahara that's holding him captive. And all you have to do is bust him a little up. Obviously, it's not in the context of like getting someone to do a mitzvah, because it doesn't usually work. But the concept of understand that when you're going to a Jew on the street and you're saying, excuse me, sir, would you like to put on tefillin? You're not suggesting something which is out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You're not suggesting something which is foreign to him.
I agree.
What you're suggesting is something which is not only intuitive and natural, but you're suggesting for him something that he actually wants. It's a sales tactic in general.
Yeah.
That you should convince yourself that the person the benefit that you're giving them is worth overcoming their initial resistance.
Yeah.
Which is cute. But this is real. This is truth. This is truth.
Yeah.
This is where it comes from.
Yeah.
When you go to anyone, to a woman, and you say, would you light Shabbos candles pre-Shabbos? Start your thing off. It'll be wonderful and beautiful. And she's like, well, I don't know. It just seems like, convince her.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Why should you convince her? Because really she wants to. And once she does it, and it may not be the first time, maybe a few times when she wants to, and then she realizes that, it might take a few rounds of wanting to and doing it and practicing and then eventually feeling it. But this is what she really wants.
Yeah.
And it comes from this idea, it comes from this Rambam. And the reason why they like this so much is because in Judaism you have philosophy, you have theology, you have moralistic conversation, right? And if it's morals, and obviously the whole Torah is true, but when it talks in a moralistic conversation, and is kind of encouraging you to be a good person. So you understand that it's going to speak more poetic. It's going to speak a little bit more kind of out there. The vibes are going to be more exciting, right? In Jewish law, it's cut dry.
Yeah.
It's what it is, and it is
how
what it
it's
is.
done.
Correct. So the fact that in Jewish law, when it comes to a get, which is a very, very careful, very dangerous place that you have to be very like.
It's a lot more nuanced than wash your hands.
But it has to be real. Not just that. There's times we mentioned earlier about the Levium. So Maimonides at the end of every book, and sometimes at the end of every section of halacha, he'll go into a philosophical kind of like rant almost. He'll go into like a couple lines. He'll be like, oh, by the way. So with Levium, he says,
like to bring it back home emotionally.
Yeah, essentially. So at the end, so Levium, for example, he says, the same way that Levites were dedicated to God, anyone who wants to can basically become a Levi today. All you have to do is choose to be dedicated and choose to spend your time studying and devote yourself to being a chassid, basically, and not to go into the world, not to go into business, but study and pray and teach other people, and you'll become a Levi, right? That's philosophical.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's philosophical? It's
Practically,
moral.
it's not the case.
Practical, you're not becoming a real Levi.
Yeah, your family would not be working at the Beit Mikdash.
Correct, but the idea is you can become a Levi.
Spiritually, you're fulfilling.
You
those
are now
callings.
in the Levi vibe.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the same type of thing as saying, kick this guy hard, because really, really, he wants to give this woman the get. It's just that he is currently stuck in his own egotistical mindset, and if you crack through that, you're getting to the true him.
Yeah.
And that's halacha.
Yeah.
Dry halacha.
Dry
That's
halacha, which is like yeah.
It's a moral piece coming from dry halacha, which is why this is really a foundation to a lot of the way the Rebbe looked at, or wanted us, I should say, to look at how integral, how integrated Yiddishkeit is to every single person. And by the way, I would even argue it's not just Jewish people for their mitzvahs, but also for non-Jewish people for their mitzvahs. We believe that non-Jews have 7 Noahide laws. They have, in general, a moral, ethical code they have to keep to. They're elevating the world. They're making the world holier. They're part of the big process of bringing Mashiach. It's this big thing. It's not like they're like, just like, we don't just ignore the whole rest of the world. And I would argue that they have the same thing. They have free will when it comes to their mitzvot. And they have this, if you can inspire them, and maybe they're not sure, and I think of them because they're not us, so to speak. But if you inspire this person to do their moral, ethical code, they may say, it's not me, it's not. No, at their core, God created you. You have an neshama, you have a soul, so you have to be created. You have to do what your
at least
what your mission is. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
How did we get to Gate?
Because we were talking about the sotah.
The Sotah.
About
so back to Sotah.
Correct. Back to sotah. So what is interesting to parse out here, and we've learned this in our Hasidic studies. This idea, sotah, leads us into a very interesting concept kabbalistically, in how we look at a person who does a sin. Right? What do we say that a person who does a sin? It's not really them.
It's their nefesh behemi.
Yeah, they're wandering off the path. The nefesh bahami, the nefesh, the animal soul, is dragging them off the regular path. It is confusing them. They're soteh, or they're shotet. It's a shtut. It's a the Talmud calls sotah. It says sotah, shota, shtut.
Yeah.
It's stupidity. Nobody does a sin unless a idiotic, a spirit of folly enters into them.
Okay.
Because really, no one in their right mind does a sin.
So in a way,
comes from here.
So in a way, any person that we're looking at who acts in difference from their divine nature, as opposed to so they act on their animalistic nature as opposed to their divine nature. What's really happening is they've without noticing wandered off the path.
Yeah.
That's the way we look at anyone who's sinned.
Yeah.
And Sotah is the first person. Sotah is the first example of this, basically.
Sotah is just the generic case. I wouldn't say it's the first person to have messed up in the Torah. You have Cain, you have other people.
You got a lot of mess ups.
Yeah.
So another question that comes to mind, and I might sorry if I'm going in circles, is if she is taken in for questioning, she's like, sorry, I did it, way before she drinks the water. repentable, or does she die?
No, if she admits to it,
Mm-hmm.
she loses her ketubah, which is
Okay.
the amount of money that the husband and the commitments the husband made to her.
So no sheep.
Married. So no, yeah, it's
No
well,
sheep.
it's gold and silver, and
Yeah.
it's the money that she would have lived on
Had she got a divorce.
had she gotten a divorce.
Mhm.
Correct. Especially in those days, there were some unique cases where women were major businesswomen,
Mm-hmm.
but generally speaking, this continued throughout much of history. It's only
Mhm.
changed in the last, and in a good way, but in the last couple of 100 years, a little more.
Yeah.
For the most part, the man was the breadwinner, the woman ran the household.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, a woman who gets divorced or her husband dies
Mhm.
is stuck.
Yeah.
And if he has savings,
Great.
huge amounts of savings that go to her, great. But if he's divorcing her, it's not his savings. He keeps the savings. What happens? So you have a ketubah, which is a protection. She gets a nest egg of some sort, either to live off of or to invest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not saying she can't own land. Of course
Yeah.
she can own land. But she has to have something to buy it with.
Mm-hmm.
If she admits to infidelity,
Mm-hmm.
she loses her ketubah and he divorces her.
Wow. Does he have to divorce her?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this idiot,
Because he's the one who complained about her in the first place.
well, the way that the sotah happens, to be very specific, is he tells her, he warns her. He tells her, do not seclude yourself with this man.
Mm-hmm.
And then
So there has to be a warning first.
Absolutely.
But what if he wasn't there to warn her? And he only finds out about it after the fact, not a sotah.
No. You can be
Okay.
angry.
I think that's something, after talking to you about a lot of different halachas, I think that I'm very pleased to find out that it's way more nuanced
Yeah.
than it's written.
Yeah.
Like, you were talking to me about
Well, it says it
Shabbat.
clearly.
Well, yeah, but like what it's taught, you know?
Right. But I'm
'Cause,
saying,
like, when we were
this is an
talking about
example
Shabbat,
where
it's
the
like
Chumash exactly
the fact
says
that we would kill someone for not keeping Shabbat, and you're like, and you said to me, it's like, do you know what goes into that halacha?
Yeah, but also the other side, the flip side also,
The astronaut, yeah.
which
that.
is like when you're screwing everything up, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, that I understand.
Right.
But also, like, the layers of, like, all the things that have to happen to make someone eligible for a beating or for a stoning.
Correct.
It's like that's a lot more than most people would understand.
Correct. It says clearly, in he warned his wife, and she may have acted upon the warning that he warned her. So you have to have warned her,
Mm-hmm.
and then she transgresses the warning,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a conversation in the Talmud. How many witnesses are involved?
Mm-hmm.
You know, did there need to be witnesses when he warns her?
And I think maybe the most important question, if we're getting into the nooks and crannies, is what is considered adultery? Is it sexual intercourse? Is it yichud, which is just being alone in a room with a man?
When there's yichud, we assume intercourse.
Okay.
We assume something happened. And so there's the amount of time that is considered yichud is the amount of time. Now, I'm not saying that in all cases.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying in this specific case, where she was warned not to be with this specific person, and then she goes and secludes herself with him, the assumption is that the reason they were secluded was because there was something was going on.
And that's when you bring them in for question.
And that's when you bring her in for the testing.
Okay.
Correct.
And she'll come out guilty upon being alone with him, or
No.
doing the act?
Doing the act.
Okay.
And that's kind of the whole point.
Of doing it.
We don't know what happened. This is a question, and it gets resolved through a miraculous miracle type thing.
I see.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is very interesting. Now, what's interesting is just to bring this idea that a sin is something which transgresses your natural state is specifically brought in the mitzvah of, because it could be taught anywhere.
And what do you mean by taught anywhere?
There's this mystical concept
Mm-hmm.
that a person who does a sin, really, it's not their natural
Yeah.
state. Their natural state is to be close to God and holy to God and always doing every single mitzvah all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then when they do a sin, it's actually getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Right? That could have been taught
Anywhere in the Torah.
Anywhere. It could be taught in the laws of agriculture. It could be taught, you need to have the language, you need to have this, but it's a matter of, it's taught specifically in the Sota. Why?
Because maybe that's the most human urge, like, there is.
And
And the most, like, chumri.
the deepest relationship.
Okay, wow. So, like, on one hand...
Because what are we trying to say? What's our relationship to God?
Bring it home. 'Cause I'm
This
missing
relationship, our relationship to God is not only as a child to a parent.
something.
Our relationship to God is not only a servant to a master, which is what we hear about and we see about a lot of places in the Torah. But we want to emphasize to you that our relationship to God is personal.
It's intimate in a way.
Our relationship to God is intimate, exactly. Our relationship to God is the relationship of a husband and a wife. And therefore, when are we going to have this conversation about a person doing something against what God says? It is the metaphor we want to remind us, the God Torah wants to remind us, is it feels and it sounds like infidelity.
Beautiful.
Which is a personal transgression.
Yeah.
But it's also, and we see this echo out in other parts of the Torah as well. But when we're going to teach this Kabbalistic concept, which is that, don't forget, really, really, it's only, even this woman who actually did, let's say she actually did it. Again, we don't know. But let's say she actually did it. The fact that what she did, when she did it, was all a transgression on her natural state. And her
natural state is to want to have a healthy relationship.
Is to be close with her husband and not do anything against him.
Yeah. And not, obviously, like the repercussions towards her kids and towards her family and
correct,
and
everything like
everything.
But it's very, very powerful. Because
that is very powerful.
And what's interesting is one of the other places, I'll give you an example, where you see the echo of this is in the Holy of Holies, the Kruvim, the two
angels.
The two cherubs, or the angels, they're like young angels. How do they usually present?
Facing each other
and embracing. Embracing.
That's one that I didn't
know.
Yeah,
embracing.
And why would they face away?
If God was angry.
That's how you'd know.
It was a miraculous thing that they would turn away. It was built in such a way they were facing each other, they were embracing each other. That was how it was built, and miraculously it turned away. In fact, it says when the Torah, when the Beis Hamikdash, the first temple, was destroyed, and they tore open the curtains and they broke into the Holy of Holies, which way were they facing? They were embracing.
They were embracing. Why?
Because Hashem was taking out his anger not on the people but on the building.
On the
building.
Wow. Beautiful. So yeah, I like that. I like that concept of using such an intimate thing.
Intimacy, yeah.
And like at the end of the day, like I don't think that there's anyone who, by most standards, we would consider moral. Like people make mistakes and people cheat and like people do things that they're not happy with, but I think that there's not a single person who has cheated and not looked back and gone, like, even if the marriage wasn't right,
there's other ways to deal with it.
Yeah, right? they're like, I messed up.
Right.
Like there's nobody who's gonna move past that and be like, I'd do it again. Like
only if they're coming from a place of anger or pain. Or
no, but even so, like,
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, like there's like something. It's like the basis of like, this is wrong, and yet people still do it, and it's not because they were acting upon their true nature. It's because they were acting upon a nature that they hold within them that contradicts their divine nature.
Yeah.
And I think that like maybe that's one of the few things in the moral discussion that even till today there's kind of a consensus on. Obviously, like like it gets out there with polyamory and all these like other things, but I think that first of all, I think the pendulum is kind of swinging back in terms of monogamous relationships and the way the world, even the liberal side of the world, sees those things. But I think that like maybe that's one of the few things that just has never been like debated in the main, like in that mainstream moderate center of like, that's wrong. And somehow still people still do it.
Right.
And nobody's ever happy about it. Not the person who's cheating and not the person who's been cheated on.
Right.
Which very much feeds into that point.
It is interesting. It's very interesting. Look, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the Parsha?
That is not even close.
Not even close. Let's
not
do
even
it.
Close. So what else do we have here? We have what comes after Sotah. Immediately the next piece. It says if somebody sees a Sotah going through her ordeal, what's the natural reaction a person's going to have?
Warner.
No, they witness it. They're at the temple and they see the Sotah doing the thing,
Doing
being tested.
Okay.
Whether it's good or bad, it's an ordeal. Whether she comes out clean or not, it's suffering.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously, there's a whole conversation in the Talmud even, which is like, is it a good thing for a person to put his wife through this?
Yeah.
Right. Clearly, the relationship is in a very weird place.
Yeah.
So strange. Okay, but what's the natural reaction of a person who sees the sotah doing this?
To be upset about it, maybe?
To say, I should stop drinking wine.
I should stop drinking wine?
Yeah.
Being like, if this is how far I could get.
Look what happens.
Yeah.
This is, how do you get to this kind of a thing? A little drinking, a little flirting, a little this, a little that. Next thing you know, you have problems.
And this is the Talmud, or this is the actual verse?
Chapter 6. God
That's
spoke
great.
to Moses, saying, talk to the children of Israel. If a man or a woman decides to make a Nazirite vow. Nazir.
Nazir.
What's a Nazir?
Nazir is someone who refrains from cutting their hair, drinking alcohol.
Drinking wine.
So, like vodka, good? Question.
No. No one drinks vodka either.
Okay.
But the thing that it says is wine.
Wine.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, back then, I imagine the choices were ale
They had
and
beer.
wine.
They had other
Yeah.
stuff. Things existed.
No
Wine.
So no wine, no cutting of the hair.
No
it's-
becoming impure.
No
by a
becoming
dead body.
impure. Even though, like, one of the few, like, this always took my mind, is like one of the few, like on his face, Nazarites slayed probably more people than half of a nation combined.
Shimshon.
Shimshon.
Yeah. We have a few people in history that we know were Nazarites. Shimshon.
Shmuel. Avshalom.
Yeah. Avshalom. Good. That was good.
Who else we got?
From that time period, I don't know anyone else.
Okay.
There's anonymous Nazarites that show up in different places.
Okay.
Queen Helena and her son, later on, much later, the time of the Mishnah, she was a Nazarite. She made a vow, and what's weird about Nazarite vow is that it's a vow, so it's a little bit flexible in the time period. Someone who randomly, first of all, if you're listening to this and you think of becoming a Nazarite, do not do it.
Yeah.
Because there's no way out of it these days.
It's the only neder that you're not allowed to latir, right?
I don't know about that. I think that if you, I don't know the halacha. I think you're able to, especially knowing that there is no way to stop being a Nazir today, because the way that you ended the service of it, was through a sacrifice in the temple.
Okay.
So if you don't,
So you don't have a sacrifice.
you can't have it. So you can't really complete the whole process.
Okay.
The way that the imagery is beautiful. Like this entire book is very image heavy. The Nazir shaves their hair that had been growing for a minimum of 30 days. The minimum Nazir is 30 days.
Okay.
Maximum is whatever number you want. So a Nazir would shave their head, male or female, shave their head, and that hair would go under on the fire that was cooking the sacrifice, or parts of the sacrifice, and then the priest would eat. They would eat. It was a whole thing, the shlamim, which is fascinating. There's the imagery of your hair burning in the. It's very physical.
Yeah.
Very visceral. Very visceral is the word. But today you can't do that, so there's no shaving. The whole thing gets messed up.
Yeah. But even if you were to take a vow for 30 days,
You're just going, yeah. I don't know exactly. What they would probably, what the rabbis would probably sit down with you and be like, did you know that if you took this thing, you would never be able to get out of it? And if you say no, then they say you didn't make it in your right mind. You didn't know the repercussions of your vow.
no. But if you take a vow for 30 days, the end of the 30 days.
But the problem is you have to finish it out.
Oh, you have to finish it with the korban and cutting your hair.
The cutting of the hair.
Okay.
Exactly. And there was a Queen Helena. I forget her last name. Hopefully we'll get some listeners' mail. Tell us all the details. But I think that she and her son, and it's in the Talmud. You can search it up, where she decided to be a Nazirite, Nazirah, for 7 years. Towards the end of the 7 years, she became impure. Then she started again, and at the end of those 7 years, she came to Israel. She was out of Israel. She came to Israel to bring her sacrifices, and they told her that you can't be a Nazirah outside of Israel because of certain impurities involved. And basically, you can only do it inside Israel. So she moved to Jerusalem, and she was Nazirah for another 7 years.
Wow.
So a total of 21 years.
And what period are we talking about?
Second Temple, early Second Temple.
Okay.
Early, yeah.
Okay.
And it was like, she was in Nazir for 21 years total with her son. It's crazy.
It's quite a while.
Yeah.
Quite a haircut.
Well, I think she cut her hair.
Every 7 years.
Well, the first 7 years she cut her hair because she became impure.
Mm-hmm.
And when a Nazir fails, not fails, but when they become impure, they shave and they start over.
Okay.
So she cut then, and then the second time she cut because she thought she was finishing. It was wrong. She wasn't. So then she started again. Good stuff. Okay. So a Nazir is interesting. It's interesting because it's the only example that we have of someone separating out from the physical world.
Okay.
Right? Judaism doesn't believe in that, generally speaking.
You are of your
Judaism is of the philosophical and spiritual mindset that you're supposed to engage with the world. You're supposed to be involved in the world. You're supposed to teach and learn and do business and make money and spend money in the holy spiritual ways, and that elevates every piece of the world, which is this person who decided they want to remove themselves and be holier. There is a place for that. There is a process for that.
But it's also frowned upon in a way.
I won't say it's frowned upon, but you have to bring a sin offering at the end.
Chatat.
A chatat.
Okay.
To rectify on the fact that you did remove yourself from the world.
Another paradox.
Which is interesting, exactly. Or in other words, in a certain sense, there can be a choose your own journey.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel this is important for you. There's a piece of your responsibility to the world. And you're allowed to say, I can't do that now. I don't want to do that now.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you have to recognize the weight of that responsibility that sits upon you.
Okay.
So therefore, you offer the sacrifice.
For not drinking the wine that God put on this earth for you.
For not drinking the wine and not cutting your hair and not being... Because it was more than just not drinking wine and cutting hair. It was a whole... It was a theme. This is a person who's letting their hair grow long. It wasn't like they were combing their hair.
Yeah.
And putting mousse in every day.
Mm-hmm.
It was you let the hair go so that way you don't care about your appearance.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And you're not drinking wine, therefore you're moving yourself from a lot of social interactions, and you
don't want to let loose.
Yeah.
You're uptight and holier than thou. In a good way or in a bad way.
Yeah.
Right?
This is obviously like very far removed from being a Nazirite, but I was not drinking for like 3 years. And like thinking about the way you just said that, like being uptight, it's like I didn't feel uptight while that was happening, but I feel like people had such a strong feeling about it, even though it had nothing to do with them. Like if I was on a date with a girl, or if I was just even hanging out with people who were having a glass of wine, like I didn't mind being around it.
Right.
It bothered them that I didn't have that glass of wine with them.
Interesting.
It really bothered them. And I feel like maybe that there is like, I'm not on the same wavelength as everyone else. And they feel that. And that may be like why you're going to bring a chatat at the end of that. It's because you've removed yourself.
It says Gdola legimash mekarevet. Drinking together brings people together.
What's the saying?
Gdola legima
shemekarevet.
It brings people close.
Big is the sip that
drink
that includes
the drink that brings people together. Shemekarevet brings people together. I'm blanking on where the source of that is. It's not from a...
No, it's not Torah.
It is. It's from a mitzvah somewhere. I forget.
Okay.
I'm blanking on it. And we'll get back to it.
Okay.
I remember finding the source a while back, and I was like, "Oh, that's where it comes from."
Perfect.
Because it's one of these phrases. It's like a lot of Yiddishkeit. A lot of things. There's a phrase that you have,
and you have no idea where it came from,
and it comes from a totally different context. And now it showed up here, and you're like, "Oh, this is the phrase everyone uses." I mean, they have mentioned it 1,000 times at Farbrengens, speaking about saying l'chaim, speaking about even the idea of bringing people together for Farbrengen. It brings people together. It's saying l'chaim together. The idea is not to get wasted, but the idea is to have this bonding experience.
Something that everyone in the room is doing. Yeah.
Well, no, because in theory, everyone could be eating together. It doesn't have the same effect.
So there's something specific about
food has a separate bonding as well. Everyone's sitting when people do this, but when people are sitting around talking, you could argue everyone's sitting around talking together. Yeah. But it's not. That's definitely not.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Good
stuff.
Now, what's interesting is one of the things that we do here is something which I think it took me a while to visualize this as well. Is that there's a thing called a tenufa, which is a waving. In this case, it's the nazir is waving some of his sacrifices with the priest. There's other sacrifices in places that's waving, and you read tenufa, vehenif. It's like there's like language of waving around.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember when it struck me. It's like this is exactly what we do with the lulav and the etrog. We shake. We call it shaking.
Yeah.
Netilat lulav.
Yeah.
Or the shaking of the lulav. Or taking the lulav. But it's the exact same thing, and we actually do the same movements, which we move it into the right, into the left,
and that's what's
up,
stated
down.
here for like the.
And it's here for the sacrifice of the nazir. We do a tenufa, but to me, it's interesting to attach the things that happen in the temple to things that we do today, 3,300
so why are
years
they in
later.
Different terminology?
Because the netilat lulav is a that's the mitzvah. The mitzvah is not the tenufa. The mitzvah is not the waving. The mitzvah is the taking, the holding it and picking it up and taking it to yourself. That is the mitzvah. After that, bonus, which is why if someone is in a rush, some people don't have the tradition. Right, some people just say they take
hold it.
They hold it. They say the bracha. They say the bracha as they pick it up, and they hold it, or maybe they hold the lulav in one hand, say the bracha, and then take that drug, and that's it. Put it together, and they give it a shake. The idea of the shake is like, it's mine. I have it. And that's it. They put it back down.
Yeah, and also hanafa is much more associated with like flying a flag as opposed to waving it.
Interesting.
Like
that's modern.
So yeah, so hanafa, like I imagine.
Well, maybe.
Like I imagine.
Linafnef.
So lenafnef, yeah, but
Right.
lehanif et adegel. Lehanif is when you fly
the flag, right?
And that might have a lot more to do with the hair of the Nazarite.
Oh, interesting.
If he's burning it with the hair.
Well, first, is the hair is part of it?
I don't know.
I'm looking. He is waving the parts of the animal.
Parts of the animal. Okay.
Not necessarily is his hair being waved.
Well, that just sends everything.
But it is. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. Okay. That is that piece.
So we move from Sotah into Nazir.
Right. Because we say if you see the Sotah happening, you're like, I think
is that the way it's stated also?
It doesn't say it in the text. It says it in the commentary.
Okay. Brilliant.
And the Gemara actually says it as well.
Okay.
That's in the Gemara, it's the reverse order. In the Gemara, we do Nazir and then we do Sotah afterwards. And the first words of the Gemara is like, how do we end up here? It's like, what happened? And right away it says, oh, you want to know how we ended up here? Because of the Nazir.
Okay.
And so we're like, what do you mean? Like, well, let me show you the context of the way the Talmud is ordered, the structure of the tractate, the Masechtot of the Talmud. It basically traces it. It goes from here to here to here to here. This is how we ended up by Nazir. And then from Nazir, what comes next? Obviously, Sotah. That's interesting.
Clearly,
it's the most obvious thing.
Brilliant.
Okay, so after the Nazir, then we go on. We have a beautiful. Again, this is a piece that it feels kind of random. These pieces are dropped in this order, but again, like I said, the order of what things are, we're not going to get into exactly why they're in this order. But there's the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing.
This is where the blessing is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is where it's. In fact, we hint to the fact that there is a priestly blessing already in the middle of Vayikra, middle of Leviticus. It says that Aaron offers a sacrifice and he blesses them. Doesn't say how he blesses them. Doesn't say what he blesses them. Rashi immediately comments he blessed them with the priestly blessing, which we haven't yet met. We haven't introduced ourselves. Here it is. It comes up here. And what I think is very powerful is the language. And the language, what I find beautiful about the language is the idea of the pnimiyut. And this is a Kabbalistic concept. A lot of commentaries point this out. The idea of pnimiyut, the idea of face to faceness. That there's three blessings. Blessing number one is Hashem should bless you and watch you. So positive and protection from negative.
Then he'll show his face.
Second one is to show his face. Yisa Hashem panav elecha yichoneka. Hashem should the pnimiyut, the idea that Hashem should be, which is a very powerful. To me, it's very powerful. What is the thing that we would want most? A deep relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
We have that. We're good.
Looking at it as a songwriter, it like something that stands out to me is the order of the words, because it could seem random, because the way it's written is, bless you God, and watch over you. Enlighten his face, like the light of his face the light of God's face will be shown to you, vichuneka, and it will be placed upon you.
Chen,
So chen, which is beauty,
which is grace.
Yeah, Isa, Hashem will, so the turning of his face, Isa, will uplift you.
Lift up.
Isa, Hashem, so the lift up God,
Your face.
your face.
Again.
Isa, his face to you. Ve'asem lecha shalom, and will give you peace.
Deliver peace.
Will deliver.
I'll
Ve'asem
hand
lecha,
you.
and will put upon
Place
you.
upon you.
Yeah.
Force upon you peace.
It's like, this is like, I feel like it's very, very much of the like language that David HaMelech uses in Psalms, where it's very poetic. It's very poetic. It's like when you're reading a quote from someone from an interview, and the guy who clearly wrote it is a bit of a writer, and he does this thing where he'll start with a bit of the quote, find a good place to stop, and then says, and he says, and continues. And it's like, he could have said, Gilad decided to say, and then just like puked my entire quote. But the beauty of like writing is letting you like kind of disappear into that. And it's like the fact that Hashem's name isn't the beginning of those sentences is so weird to me.
Right.
And it's not the end either.
Right.
It's like
It's in the middle.
In the middle.
It's interesting. Very interesting.
That, like, every time I hear that, I think it's one of the most beautiful blessings. Am I correct? Here in the States, you don't say it every Shabbat, right?
It's dependent on community.
Okay.
Yeah, some people do.
Some people here in the States do.
Yeah.
Like Kohanim get up and do the bracha.
You're talking about Friday. I was thinking
Saturday
about Friday night. I was thinking about Friday night.
Okay.
Friday night, there's a tradition. The parents bless their kids.
Yeah, of course.
So we don't do that. Chabad doesn't do it.
You don't do it?
No. Some people do it. Some
You
people
don't do the Yisimcha Ke'Ephraim?
No.
None of that.
Chabad doesn't do it. Some Hasidic communities might. I don't think all of them do. A lot of there's certain communities that did, and a lot of communities started adopting it also. Once you come to America, there's a lot of mishmash. It's a lot of people.
But I'm
do
saying
it,
like Birkat Kohanim.
Birkat Kohanim. So it's interesting. It depends on how holy the place is. So in America, we do it on the holidays. The people are happy and they're calm, and they're filled with joy because when you want to have the blessing of God, it comes with joy. In Israel, they do it on Shabbat.
Yeah.
And in Jerusalem, they do it every day.
Yeah.
So we invoke the blessing every single time we daven as a community.
The Chazan, yeah.
On
Keni
Shabbat.
Ratzon, yeah.
Correct. But he quotes it as a verse from the Torah. It says, God and God our fathers, bless us just like Aaron and his sons bless, or bless us with a triple blessing that Aaron would give us. Give us that triple blessing, and we read the three blessings off, and then that's it. When we do it with Kohanim on a holiday, we say the same kind of formula. We say, God and our fathers, bless us with the blessing of Aaron, the Kohanim, and then they say the blessing.
Yeah.
You call for them to say it, and then they say it. It's very beautiful.
There's like a Gabbai whose job it is the Kohanim. Yeah.
And the Chazan, and then what happens if the Chazan is the Kohen?
Well, he reads it to them.
So then, no, if he himself is a Kohen.
Oh, so someone else, so a Levi reads it. Like
so then it depends. If there's other Kohanim in the congregation, then they'll go up, and he doesn't go up, because we don't trust him to not get confused about where he is. I mean, it depends really how it is. Because today we have a sitter, and we think people can just slow down; it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But if the Chazan is the only Kohen, then he's the one who has, and he's the only one who could be the Chazan. Because let's say it's in a Chabad house. I have friends who are Kohanim and Chabad houses, and so they're the only Kohen in the room.
Yeah.
So they have to do the Birkat Kohanim.
Someone else.
So they'll turn around in spot. They'll jump, face the crowd. You have to face the crowd,
and they have to keep their feet together.
They keep their feet together, and they turn. They basically do a 180 jump. It's very athletic, do the Birkat Kohanim, and then flip back, and they have someone from the community will read. You're supposed to read it for them, because the assumption is not every Kohen is literate, but all the Kohanim. This goes back to a little bit kind of this idea of the infinite. We're going to mention this every time: the infinite and the finite. The Kohen has the ability to channel the blessing. Maybe the Kohen can't read.
Wow.
Fine. That doesn't change the facts on the ground.
Yeah.
So some random shmegagi in the crowd is going to figure out the word and announce it for the Kohen, which, by the way, in our community here, some Kohanim are Israeli and they know how to read. Some Kohanim are traditional enough and they know how to read. And some Kohanim,
The only connection they have to
extremely-
Judaism is the fact that their last name is Cohen.
and the fact that they know that they can come, and I beg them to come on the holiday to bless us, and I read the blessing out loud, slowly, so they can repeat the word and I enunciate the parts of the word that are more, that kind of get more slurred.
Yivarecha.
So it's vichuneka.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot of hard consonants in there,
Yeah.
and you do it slowly to give them the ability to do it. They can't read Hebrew.
Yeah.
But that's who's God going to give his blessing through? You? No. Why? Because you're not a Kohen.
Brilliant. I love it.
It's amazing. It's one of these things. Again, that's the power of Yiddishkeit. It's not sometimes about what you know. Sometimes about who you are. Sometimes, and that can go both ways. It says that a mamzer Talmid Chacham is greater than a Kohen Gadol Am Haaretz.
There could be a Kohen Gadol Am Haaretz?
Yes, that's exactly that's the key.
There could be
the
a
high
Kohen-
priest who doesn't. No, I think Am Haaretz is probably in context of like the people, right? It's not that he doesn't know how to read Hebrew.
He's
Not learned.
He's an average Joe Schmo.
He's a simpler.
Yeah.
Maybe he became high priest because he had good people skills. Maybe he was very pious, but he's not very learned. You have a lot of these like different variations of how someone can be. And we say that a mamzer, which is a person who's, God forbid, a bastard, is a legal status. And there's a lot of things that are not. There are the main issue is with marriage. Who they can and cannot marry. It's complicated. But that person, we give them. We abandon the Kohen Gadol, and we go run after the mamzer Talmid Chacham because he's a repository of God's wisdom.
Chacham, yeah.
God's wisdom. You spend time. You say it's a combination of a meritocracy and a whatever.
These are the cards you're dealt.
And like hereditary, situational type of society. It's a very interesting blend. Very beautiful.
Very interesting.
Okay, and then the final piece of this entire Torah portion gets into it gets into the blessings, not the blessings, the offerings of the 12 tribes in honor of the new Mishkan, the new
the
tabernacle.
new Mishkan and the new configuration and like.
So
Like,
they're
this is
offering,
like it feels like a new it's a new book, but it's also like it feels like a new page. Has like they are now acting upon everything that they've heard in Mount Sinai and in Vayikra, where they're deciphering and talking about the laws.
well, this is going back to technically, if you're talking about chronological, where the setting is, this is going back to the first year anniversary of when they came out of Egypt.
Okay.
Okay, so let me clarify.
So that's post Har Sinai, almost a year after Har Sinai, because Har Sinai is, you said, how long after?
7 weeks after going out of Egypt.
Okay. And
So-
technically 5 because they were camped at the base of Har Sinai
For a week.
And
And they were also by the sea a week after. So it was 5
5 weeks of
traveling
moving.
from the water. Well, it was a week getting to the water theoretically, but then from the water to Mount Sinai was 5 weeks. So just to make it easier, the month of Passover is called the month of Nisan. Right? You know this. So the month of Nisan is when they go out of Egypt. In year, let's say 0 or year 1, they're going out on the 15th of Nisan. The inauguration of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, is on the 1st of Nisan of year 2 of the following year.
So barely, so
it's
not even a year.
Less than 12 months, 11 and a half months before they inaugurate the temple. And they've been doing a ton of, I mean, it's a crazy amount of stuff have happened.
Yeah.
Moses went up to get the Torah, comes back down, they just worship the golden calf, he broke it, and everything happened.
Yeah.
and then they build the Mishkan, and then the Mishkan is ready, and God says not yet, and he has them hold it for a little bit, and they build it on the first. They build it in the week up to the first day of Nisan, and the first day of Nisan is the 8th day. It's the start date.
That's when they built it. That's when they finished building.
Finished building it.
Okay.
And at that point, Moshe, the Nesiim, the heads of the tribes, begin to offer what they want to offer, a special set of sacrifices, and each of the set of sacrifices, to commemorate different themes, different ideas, and they offer for the first 12 days of the month, or the first 12 days of the existence of the tabernacle, and that's like how we started the whole thing off.
And by the time they're done with that, we're 3 days away from Passover. Or
We're
2 days away.
We're 2 days away from the first Passover. What's interesting, which is very interesting, we don't mention it in this Torah portion. It's actually in the Torah portion that follows. Is a conversation as to how often did they offer the sacrifice in the desert.
How often?
How often they offer Pesach sacrifice.
Okay.
But that's coming. We'll leave that to leave it for then.
Okay.
Give us
next week.
For next week. Okay. So good. So what do they bring? They bring animals, oxen, and wagons to carry for the tribes that are going to carry the deconstructed tabernacle, the curtains, the walls, etc. Mazel tov. And then they say they're going to bring sacrifices. What's interesting is that when you go into the Torah, it repeats the exact same sacrifice with the exact same language every single day.
Why?
Obviously, it's a good question. Why?
Precision.
So the Medrash goes at length to explain that each one of the Nesiim brought a special meditation that related to their sacrifice that was related to their own personal tribe. Yehuda, the tribe of Judah, had to do with kingship. The tribe of Levi didn't offer because they were the Kohanim. The tribe of Ephraim was talking about how they were the chosen of the sons of Joseph. They're the one who was going to be the more intense tribe, the more holy tribe. The tribe of Dan talks about this idea of being a serpent, and Shimshon, the Nazir, is actually from the tribe of Dan. So it goes into this big theme that later crystallizes in very specific themes. God speaks about.
But you said that it's in the exact same language.
Because it's exact same sacrifice. But each one
is worded differently, maybe.
No. It's worded exactly the same. But each one finds in the meaning of the sacrifice an echo in a different way.
Okay.
For example, so I'll give you an example, so you can have a good example. 1 second, I'm looking to see if they have the chart here. There you go. Okay, so for example, the silver sprinkling basin was 70. It was a weight of 70 shekel, which is 70 silver shekel. Okay. What does the silver basin represent? So it represents Noah. Why? Because a basin reminds you of an ocean. An ocean has a flood. 70 also is the number of nations that come from Noah, the 70 nations of the world.
Okay.
So each of the tribes have a different thing that they use to commemorate something differently. The 1 spoon weighs 10 golden shekel. What is 1 spoon? It's the Torah. Why is it the Torah? Because kafachat, one hand, or it came from the hand of God. The oneness that came from the hand of God. What is the one thing that we got from the hand of God?
Torah.
The Torah. 10 shekel. Why is it 10 shekel? 10 commandments.
Okay.
So this is.
But so it's going to word it the exact same way for the 12 tribes. Each day, the exact same thing.
And
but
each
we
one had
learn
a
different
whole.
things.
Each of the prophets had a whole different. Not prophets. Each of the Nesiim, each of the heads of the tribe, the tribal leaders, had a whole different meditation when they brought on what the significance of their sacrifice meant.
So as the reader, even though we're reading the exact same words, we read them differently.
If you know what to look for.
Yeah.
Theoretically, yes. And I think, in fact, this probably is a great place. I think it's a great place, now that I'm thinking of it, to emphasize a part of Torah, Jewish wisdom understanding that we don't usually get into. And that is, we speak about the Torah having 4 general layers. Right? We call it the Pardes of Torah, the garden of Torah. But Pardes being a Hebrew word, as
it's an acronym, right?
It's an acronym, exactly. It means Pardes, it means garden. It also P or Pei for Pshat, which means simple. Resh is Remez, which is hint. Drush is allegory, which is a midrash, which is like kind of like more elaborated upon. And Sod is the secrets, right? One of the things that's very difficult for us to find a great place to get into the depth of is Remez, is the hints. Because...
And that's before Drush.
Correct.
I didn't know that. I always thought it was Drush was like the first layer after Pshat.
No, so the first layer is the simple meaning of what it says.
No, but I mean after Pshat.
Right. So the first meaning. So this is interesting. The Kabbalah, everyone knows. When you hear, oh, this means the Sod, everyone gets it. This is the secrets. We got it. Good. Pshat, the simple understanding of the Torah text. You read it, and there's sometimes where you have to get into like. It's interesting to do a separate study of what Pshat is because there's like 7 different ways of understanding how to find the Pshat. Like if you have a verse and you don't know and there's context means one thing, but the word itself means something which may mean something else. How do you reconcile the two? Different teachers of Pshat have different ways. Rashi, Rashbam, Rambam, Ramban, Ibn Ezra. Each of those have their own understanding of how you extract or how you translate, interpret Pshat, the simple layer, the simplest layer of the Torah. And by the way, Rashi has one way of doing Pshat in the Torah, and when he moves over to Nach, he'll do Pshat, but in a prophetic type of way. He doesn't apply the same rules of strict simplicity that he does to the Torah.
Yeah, I was told that he was, before he passed away, his grandson pretty much confronts him and says, "You're not Pshat."
Yeah.
Like pretty much is like, that's not Pshat. That's already, you're moving into like the Drush area.
Interesting.
And that's Rashbam, right?
So I found the Rashbam to be, so there's one piece of the Talmud where Rashi and Rashbam right? They overlap. They overlap. And what you find is, first of all, they argue. It's hard to find the argument exactly because you have to have eyeballs to figure this out.
Yeah.
But what's more interesting to me is when they say the exact same thing and Rashi uses half the words.
I was talking to someone today about that, like about like in completely different context.
It's such a skill.
But to be able to just like say things in less words, and I feel like I was watching someone talk about negotiations and persuasion techniques, where he says when you use less words, you actually let people fill in the blanks for themselves. When they fill in the blanks for themselves, they think that they came up with the idea. When they think they came up with the idea, they're going to have a much harder time resisting it.
Love that.
And I feel like there's a lot to be said for that when it comes to explaining things too. Because when you're going to leave out one of every 4 words, and that's going to make people fill it in for themselves. And they might, if you're doing a good enough job with those 3 out of 4 words, then you're not going to leave them a lot of options, but it's going to help that 4th word sink in a lot better.
It's a skill.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's tough. Rashbam, it has a hard time. And it's not to diss the Rashbam.
No, it's Rashi he's the goat for a reason.
Yeah, but the Rashi is like, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that, so back to the idea of Pshat versus, so Pshat, it's easy to find. Sod is easy to find. Midrash is like 90% of what we study is Midrash, which is basically taking texts, extrapolating out of it. There's different kinds of Midrash. The Midrash Agada, which is stories. There's Midrash Halacha, which is the law. A lot of the things that we look at the Torah and we say, or the Talmud quotes as like halacha, it actually what used to be in these like books called Midrash Halacha, Mechilta, Sifra, Sifri, where they're just going through verse by verse and they're extrapolating laws. And the methodology is called Midrash. Remez is hard to find. Remez is hard to find because it's not usually used for halacha, although that's a very big
Can you give me
blanket.
an example for remez? Like
Right over here.
So what, like,
this is why it's the quintessential example. You see the text repeating itself over and over and over and over. Pshat can only tell you at most
that there were 12
different meditations.
Yeah.
It was 12 of the exact same sacrifice, and the meditations were different. It won't tell you what those meditations were. Remez will come in and step in and be able to tell you now. Let me give you an example of this and this and this and this and this. For example, Yehuda looks at the basin that I mentioned, the silver basin, and he says that is King Solomon's. It looks like an ocean. It's King Solomon's ocean that he built in the temple for the Kohanim to use as a mikveh. They're totally different. Totally different meditation.
That's far from Noach.
Far from Noach.
Yeah.
But it has the same. There's an echo there.
Who's a commentator in Remez?
The Baal Turim. Baal Turim is the same sage that wrote a massive halachic book or series called the Torah. He also wrote another type of book called the Remez. I'll give you an example of Remez that I heard when I was young. I was as a teenager from one of my teachers. It says that when Yocheved and Miriam, so Yocheved takes the baby and places the baby Moshe on the edge of the water.
Little Mo.
And he's crying. So it says the baby's crying, or the child is crying. The nar bocha. The child is crying.
I heard this too. I think it's because of the podcast you sent me.
Maybe.
But it's not Moshe.
So who is it?
It's is it possible that it's Aaron and Miriam because
Aaron.
they're sad that they're sending him off?
They're sad.
Because also Moshe was born circumcised and talking, meaning that he wouldn't have cried. He would have asked his mother to
take me back.
Yeah.
So I don't know I haven't heard the talking part, which is great. That's cool.
So that to contextualize that, there's an incredible podcast by Rabbi Shmuel Aver.
Yes.
Huge shout out.
What's it called?
Hidden Stories of the Torah or Hidden Tales of the Torah. I don't remember. But he has incredible episodes. And one of them he's talking about the early life of Moshe, which is everything from him being placed in the basket until he comes back as the savior of the Jews at age 80, which is an incredible story. But and this might be Remez, like thinking about it, but is that he was born circumcised, he was born speaking, and he was also born 3 months premature.
Yeah.
Meaning that
that premature is pshat.
That's pshat.
That's pshat.
That's actual pshat.
Well, it doesn't say it explicitly. Well, the question is how much of deduction of pshat is still considered pshat. That's why Remez is so complicated, because if you go too far, that's medrash. If it's too close, you call it pshat. So how do you find something that sits in this special place in between? How do you find Remez?
Very nice.
That's the challenge, because it's anything that's in between two greater extremes.
I think what I'm having a hard time is differentiating between Remez and Drash.
That's what I'm saying. So Remez is something which goes and it finds you a hint, an echo of this idea in the text. But it doesn't have it. It's not extrapolating it from the text. It's echoed in the text.
Okay.
Right? It's not. I'm trying to think of a good example. Not example. A way of framing it. Maybe we could say that is like poetry a little bit.
Okay.
Where it doesn't not say it, but it doesn't say it either. Right? It's in the words, and you're pulling the words out. You're pulling the meaning out of the words, but not necessarily. Are you extracting it through a methodology that requires word comparison, or the rules, so to speak, of how Medrash pulls words and understands concepts. So, for example, the story with the reason why I like the story of Aaron crying, V'nei nar bocha, is a gematria to Aaron crying. So that's how you know. Gematria is numerical values.
Yeah.
It's a remez. It's a hint.
It's a hint, yeah.
But it's also a powerful concept. Because what does the Torah actually say?
This is saying the boy, or the
adolescent,
the
youth. It says that the daughter of Paro opens the basket. V'hinei nar bocha. You see this youth crying,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, "Oh, this is a Jewish child."
Yeah.
So in the simple way you read it,
Is that it's Moses crying.
she sees him crying. She now has compassion.
Mm-hmm.
She feels bad for this baby crying, and she looks around and puts 2 and 3 together, and she says, "This is a Jewish baby.
Mhm.
I will save him anyways."
Yeah.
Even though
There's also I think this is already midrash, but there's also
that she was becoming Jewish.
that she was in the river doing
Good,
her.
leave that. But
yeah.
even then, she's risking her life.
Yeah.
It's clearly a sketchy situation, right?
Mhm.
There's a kid. Pharaoh had a decree to kill all the baby boys.
Mhm.
What if you, which she did? What if you save the wrong one? In
Yeah.
his context, right? In Pharaoh's context.
Yeah.
So she's risking her life. She's coming home with a baby. She wasn't pregnant before. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
But she's a daughter of Pharaoh. She can do whatever she wants. But it is, understand that there's a complicated situation, and she makes the split-second decision. I'm taking the baby.
Yeah.
So the pshat is very simple and straightforward. She sees a baby. Baby's crying.
Yeah.
Her heart goes, "Oh, I can't."
Yeah.
Right? Very common experience.
Mhm.
Most people have that.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "I'm going to rescue this baby." And, by hook or by crook. What Remez says is a little more nuanced. Remez says she opens the basket, and she sees from the corner of her eye a boy crying off in the distance, weeping. Why is he weeping? Because they're losing their son, their baby.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "The fact that I see someone crying for him means he's a Jewish. Because this people, the Jewish people, are deeply interconnected. And that random kid is going to cry the fact that they're losing a baby.
And therefore, I'm going to save him."
And therefore she says, "I know this is a Jewish baby."
Mm. Is it that stated that she knew that?
That's
it
what
was
she
a Jewish
says.
child?
She says she opens it up. V'nei nar bocha, this youth is crying. And she says, "Oh, miyalda ha'ivrim zed." This is from one of the Jewish babies.
Mhm.
And then she continues on with the process of rescuing him.
Mhm.
But the fact that she says, in other words, the Rebbe is telling us, how does she know this is from the Jewish kids? There's the pshat way of looking at it is saying she knows it's a Jewish kid because she figured out why is there a baby floating in a basket on the Nile,
Yeah.
right? So it's an obvious kind of
Yeah.
deduction. Also, it could also be random. Remember this is Egypt. There's random ridiculous stuff happening.
Yeah.
It could be some other person.
Like
lived-
sacrificing their kid for.
Who knows?
to
Who
the
knows?
Nile
Maybe
god.
it's a maidservant further up
Yeah.
who wanted to get rid of the baby and didn't want to kill it. I don't know. There's like a million things it could have been,
Yeah.
right? But Pshat says she figured it out. Remes says
That
the
was
wording, V'nei nar bocha, numerical value to this young man crying, or young, he wasn't young, he was 3 years old.
Uh-huh.
All right, he's 3 years older. She sees a 3-year-old baby, or 3-year-old child crying because she has this thing, and she says,
This is a Jew.
this is from a Jewish family because
Yeah.
they have this deep connection. And you see this also in some places. Some places families are deeply connected, some they're not. Right? In some societies, I mean, I don't know what ancient Greece and Sparta was like, but it doesn't sound like they would care if a sibling was dying.
Definitely not.
Right? They'd be like, "Yay, more food for me." I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
in others, I'm not saying specifically. But I think
It was a fact of life.
it was.
Yeah.
It's different societies have different ways of valuing things. And she's looking at this child crying for this kid, and she says, "That's a Jewish trait."
Yeah.
That is what I see happening amongst them. And sure enough, Moses grows up. He does the same thing.
Yeah.
He goes out. He sees someone beating a Jewish guy, and he kills him to save the. It's the same concept. This is a theme in the experience, which is a remez interpretation, because the way you get to the fact that it's Aaron is very much like this
Yeah.
hint thing. But once you read it in context, you're like, that makes total sense. But
Yeah,
it's not
also-
pshat. It's
and also,
not
like,
the
and
simplest way
also
of reading
once
it.
Once you say that, I feel like this is also helping me solidify what remez is.
Mm.
Is once you know that story, and you read it again, the words make sense. Because when you go back and it's like, and she opens the teva, v'hinei nar boche, and it's like, and here, oh look, there's a kid crying over there. Nar, also nar, youth,
right.
as opposed to a baby,
Right.
a 3-month-old baby.
Right.
It's like, v'hinei nar boche. It's like, oh, and there's a baby crying.
And
There's
behold,
there's
yeah.
a guy, yeah,
Yeah.
there's someone crying, and yeah, it's very interesting. So I feel like I'm able to understand.
But
the
it's
difference
not
now.
exactly. That's why I like it so much. That's why to me it's a very good example of that middle space between regular pshat and what we would call midrash.
Mhm.
And and to me, I think that this is why I love this piece of Nasoh so interesting because we have the text just saying the same thing again and again, literally 12 times. And when you read the Torah, it's fun because if you learn one, you know 12. It saves you on all the verses to memorize the reading of it. And yet you know there's meaning, but you can't. Even Midrash doesn't really extrapolate it. The Midrash, it is written in the Midrash, but the methodology to get the information is a Remez methodology.
Beautiful.
It's very cool.
So that's basically what it does for. I'm guessing if it's writing all of that 12 times, that's a big
The rest
part
of it. That's it. That's the end of it.
That's the parsha.
That brings us to the end. So the last section of the parsha covers a very a fascinating piece, which is the way that God communicates with Moses, and it's a well-known thing that God spoke to Moses differently than every other prophet. In next week's Torah portion, we're actually going to see an episode where Moshe says, "Give me a minute, I'll talk to God and see what he says," which no other prophet is able to do. Everyone else has to wait for the right time when the divine prophecy comes. In a certain sense, prophecy generally works like a broadcast tower with radio waves. It goes out. If you're a prophet, then you're prepared to hear the signal. Maybe it's not directed at you, so you're not going to hear it. It's on the channel that you're on. Sorry.
Different frequency.
Too bad. But if you're in the right channel and you're in the right mindset and your receiver's on, then you can receive divine prophecy. And God isn't dumb, and therefore will, if he wants you to get the message, he'll go to the channel that you're on.
Yeah.
And sends you at a certain time.
He has the proper.
He
technology.
has the proper technology and how to get messages through.
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared for it a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's important. Moshe is the only one that can initiate communication. He can just wave and say, "Hey, I need a quick question, if you don't mind," and God would talk back.
And what does he say in this communication?
So that's gonna be next parsha. That's next week.
So basically, this parsha ends with.
So this parsha just ends off with a conversation or a talking. How does the divine communication with Moses happen?
And what is it? How does it happen?
And it says that it happens in the temple. It happens, the laser beam, so to speak, comes down from the spiritual worlds. It hits in between the two kruvim. So if you imagine the ark is like this receiver, the Torah, the 10 Commandments are inside. You have the two cherubs, which the golden things, and then in that in between space is where the sound, where the message, the energy comes down from Hashem. And then it broadcasts out into the actual tabernacle, small building itself, and it communicates with Moses.
Wow. That's described in the words?
Yeah. Read it.
Where is it? Read
it. Page 909.
Or
9. For those following along with their own Chumash, chapter 7, verse 8.
All right. 909.
Sorry. Chapter 7, verse 89. My apologies.
89. So pay tet. ובבוא משה אל אוהל מועד לדבר איתו וישמע את הכל מדבר אליו מעל הכפורת אשר על אורן ארון העדות מבין שני הקרובים וידבר אליו. As plain as you just said it. Yeah.
And the piece that the only piece that is required to interpret is Vayishma. It doesn't say Vayishma, he heard Kol Hashem, the voice of God. It says Et HaKol. It uses
where is that?
It's the right there in the middle.
ובמשה אל אוהל מועד לדבר איתו
וישמע
את הכל.
HaKol, the voice. What's the voice?
Hey Hashem.
Hey being capital. Yeah. The voice, not a voice. The voice. What's the voice? The voice that God used at Mount Sinai.
Oh, wow.
So we're talking about the most intense booming physically and spiritually, the most intense experience you could possibly imagine.
Which is also why we believe that Moshe was shredded.
Yeah.
Like we believe he was a fit guy.
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah.
Maybe withstanding the voice was enough.
Yeah.
But it's and the voice goes and it stops right at the entrance of the because remember, How loud was the voice that God spoke to the Jews from
So
Mount
loud
Sinai?
that they couldn't handle it. That they were
So
like, enough.
loud that they couldn't handle it, and so loud that the entire camp heard it, which, according to our understanding, was about
1.2 people.
12 miles, 12 mil, which is a little less than a mile. So it was like,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10 kilometers, whatever it was. It was a big piece. It was a large
Bigger than
space.
the sound system at Coachella.
Correct. It was big. It was
Yeah.
very loud. It was very, very loud, very powerful, and very intense spiritually. It was like this crazy prophetic, to use the term very loosely, a psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful. This intense experience, and it stops at the door. It doesn't go past.
Meaning
if
as
you
far
were
as the people
standing outside,
on the other side of the kaporet,
you couldn't hear.
the kaporet
Not the
being
kaporet. The curtain.
the curtain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the kaporet, right?
There's two. There's a parochet, the kaporet.
All right.
But there's the masach. It's usually called the masach.
So
the,
basically, if you were standing on the other side of a curtain,
of a curtain,
you
couldn't
wouldn't hear it.
No.
Brilliant.
Yeah, which is fascinating, and it's interesting that Rebbe actually points this out, that one of the powerful things of the way that this voice functioned is that the voice was limited in both time and in space. When God spoke to the Jewish people, he spoke for a certain amount of time and then he stopped speaking.
Mhm.
And here he's talking to Moses, he speaks to him and then he stops, time, also space. It's limited. Which part of the idea is that if God would not
Limit.
limit, I think what the more importantly, God wants there to be space without his voice. He limits his voice so that there should be space without his voice. Inside the voice, inside that space, there's no free choice.
Yeah.
There's no human experience. So God creates a boundary to the voice, to the communication, a time boundary, a space boundary. It's blocked in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's human experience outside of that, and that's where our work is.
I love it.
Very, very powerful. And this is dropped in almost at the end of...
Yeah, it's like a line.
Yeah. And just to let you know how it goes.
Brilliant. Parashat Nasoh.
Parashat Nasoh.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Small recap.
So, Nasoh is a chaotic parsha.
Yeah.
It is chaotic good.
Yeah. It starts off with an adulteress.
It starts off with a Levite, repeating the Levite, goes to Pidyon Ben. Or
That's
that was
right.
last
Wow.
week? No, it was this week.
That was this week.
No, was it last week or this week? I think it was last week. 1 second. No, Pidyon is last week. Thank God. It starts off with Levite, then it goes to Sota, the suspected woman,
Nazars.
Nazarite. Then it goes to the blessing of the Birkat Kohanim.
Beautiful.
Then it goes to the gift of the priests all the way to the end.
Beautiful.
So it's a little bit of and it's almost eclectic, almost.
Mm-hmm.
But as I mentioned, there's the dating of this. Really, it's trying to bring us back. It's trying to basically keep going back to the order of how things actually took place. By the time next parsha is over, we're going to be back on a regular, kind of normalized chronological track.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's Parashat Nasoh.
Parashat Nasoh.